you open the Xcode, in the Xcode, you have to create a project. So we are going to create an iOS project. By default, you would be able to select the multi-platform. So unselect that and then select iOS and then click on the app here. Okay. Click next. So we are going to find out, we are going to create a project now. Okay. So what is our requirement? We have to find out whether the text contains an oval or not. Okay. So for that, what we are planning to do, so we have to give some product name, which is our app name, maybe a tester, which would be oval, VowelTester. And for organization identifier, usually you would be able to give the company names and all that stuff when you work, or your team names, group names. But here I'm going to provide the organization name as NWMSU. Okay, that's up to you. And if you set for one time, it will automatically come. But again, since you're not using your own Macs, maybe you have to type one more time. I'm not sure of that. And for the interface, we have to do storyboard. Okay, and select the Swift language instead of Objective-C, and then include test cases. Okay, and then click next. Okay, and if you notice here, there is a checkbox to create Git repository on my Mac. Since I already have a Git repository, I don't want to create a new one. That was the mistake I have done in the last class, and I was not able to push that code. So later on, I think I figured out that, and we removed that. Okay, so now don't uncheck this one. Don't select that. Okay, uncheck that part. And then create a project. Click on create. Okay. So now we created the project. So there are always 3 steps in designing the app here. One is designing the UI part. Second thing is connections. Third thing is you write your logic there. Okay. So for example, in order to know the display of your app name, make sure you put VowelTester here. Because when you install the app on a simulator or on your phones, you would be able to see with that particular name. So that is called display name. Okay, and then hit return or enter, and then close this page. On the very top, you see the into symbol. Close this page. Basically, you have to enter the display name like there, which is the product name, VowelTester, and then hit return, and then close that. Okay, so as you already know, the navigation, folder navigation here, we will be concentrating on main, which is the storyboard, and we will be concentrating on the view controller, where we are going to do the connections, right? So let's go ahead and open our main. And basically, how many components we have here? We have only 3 components. Okay, so what are they? Text field, submit button, and a display label, which is exactly the same what we have done in the last class. In order to get those components, what we have to do? We have to go to the library. Where to find the library? So it's here, which is a plus symbol. Click on that. You would be able to get a pop-up window here, able to see different objects. So we have text field, right? So you can check, sorry, you can search for the TEXT FIELD. You know, just drag and drop. Drag and drop the text field to the view. No, not there, on the screen. Yes. So just drag and drop the text field to the view or screen, you know, you could call. And maybe increase a little bit. Okay. And then here, what we need to do. So look at on the design ones on the whiteboard here. So basically, I want to put a placeholder called enter text. Okay. So where is the placeholder? If you select this one, if you select this one, whenever you select it properly, you would be able to get little squares there. And here, all these are inspector windows. Okay. All these are inspector windows. And we are looking under the attributes inspector. We are looking under the attributes inspector, which has 3 lines. In that, you see the placeholder here, placeholder text, which would be below the alignment. Now you could write enter your text. Enter your text. Okay, and then hit return. And if you want to align it on the left-hand side, you could be able to do this very first one, text alignment left, which is similar to your Word document, so that you will be able to see the watermark or a placeholder on your text box with whatever the text that you type there, enter your text. So that means when the user view your app, they would be able to know that they have to enter something there, okay? So, and now what's the next component we have to do? We have to do the button, okay? So now click on the library again to get the button, which would be the very second component on the left-hand side. So click on that, hold the mouse, drag and drop to the view, okay? And just put underneath your text box so that it aligns properly. And what you need to do is just increase a little bit because submit text is, the spelling of submit is a little bit bigger. And what we have to do now is we have to change it to submit instead of button. For that, what we have to do, we have to go to our attributes inspector once again, okay? And then here you notice title plain and the text is button, right? So instead of button, what you're going to do, submit, okay? So instead of button, you would be doing submit, okay? So we are done with two components and we have to do the last component, which is nothing but our label, okay? So is everyone up to here with me? Okay, so if not, please raise the hand, otherwise it's waste of time. And next thing is label. So how to get the label? So basically once you enter the text here, maybe you enter some word and then you click submit, it would be able, your app should be able to check whether it has vowels or not, right? So now you have to display something on a label. So for that, you have to go to library again. For any kind of objects, you have to go to library and select the label, which is very first one, drag and drop here and increase the label a little bit here like this, because you're going to write more text there. Okay, increase the label. And then what we have to do, we have to go to our attributes menu, attributes inspector, and then the number of lines, what we have to do is 0. Okay, so lines, just make it 0. And then text alignment, I would say the centered, okay? Just center the text alignment so that you will get in the center of the app nicely. In order to wrap the values, lines, okay? So this is the label, okay? So this is a label that we are going to display the results, okay? So now we are done with the design, okay? So that means 25% of the app is done. So now what we need to do is we have to do with the connections. Where do we do the connections? We have to connect to the view controller, okay? For that, what you need to do is hold the option key on your keyboard, hold the option key, and then double click on the view controller file. Oh, did I? Okay, you will get the split window like this. Okay, so what you need to do is you have to hold the option key and click on the view controller. So now you see kind of a split window here. So I want to tell you one thing which I didn't tell in the last class because it was too much on the time. So if you notice here, you have view controller. Under the view controller, you have the view, and under the view, you have safe area and you have these three buttons. So that means what you could correlate with this basically. So this is a view controller. The whole thing is view controller. If you notice here, this is view controller. And this is the view. The screen itself is the view. And in that, the safe area is from this notch to the bottom. This is all safe area. And you have three different components. One is the text field, submit button, and label. So that's how you would be able to read it. So right now, we need to hide this part. So because we want to have a nice view to edit our code. So click on hide document online. Here. Hide document outline, not online. So, and now you'll be able to see like this. So you have to click here. You would see the hide document online. I'm seeing the show document online. This part. Okay. So that you could view like this, and you have the code like this. Okay. So we have to do the connections. So what we need to do is we have to do 2 outlets and 1 IB action. Okay. So those are nothing but annotations which help the controller and the view to connect in a proper way. Okay. So for that, what you need to do is select your text field again, hold the control key, select your text field, hold the control key, drag and drop to line number 11. So which would be within the class. Okay. And if you notice here, you would see outlet. So basically we are going to create an outlet, and then view controller. The name of the outlet is, so what outlet is this? Like this is text, you could put like a text outlet. And make sure you have UI text field in the drop down list here, and then connect. So basically what we get is weak. So basically what you get is you're going to create a variable for the text outlet. Okay, so this is nothing but a declaration of the variable. Did you all get this part? Okay, good. And the next thing is we will do the label first. Okay, for example, for label and text fields, usually we have the variables. We could create functions also, that's fine, but usually we create the labels. Usually we create the variables. So now select the label, hold your control, drag and drop to line number 13. Okay. I mean, you could drop anywhere actually. So because I said line number 13 because I have some space there. You could drop anywhere. Okay. So basically what you need to do is you would be able to do the label outlet, right? So which is kind of display label, and then click connect. Okay, display label, click connect. So now you have 2 variables. And the next thing what we need to do is we have to drag and drop the button. Button would be getting an IB action. Okay, so select submit button, use your control key, drag and drop to the bottom because it's a function. So I just would like to put it at the bottom. And if you notice here in the past, you see the outlet there, but now what you are noticing? Action. And it's a view controller. The name of action would be maybe button clicked. Okay, so name of action would be button clicked. And here what you need to do is you would be able to select the UI button. You should be able to select the UI button. Okay, and then connect. So now you get a function. Okay, so now the second part is done, which is nothing but the connections. What you need to do now, you have to double check whether those connections has been connected correctly or not. Okay, So that is the important before you even go further. So for that, what we will do is hover on that connection there. It should be able to select whatever the connection it represents, and hover on the other one, so which is label, and hover on the connection here, which is submit button. Okay, so this all would work well. That's completely fine. However, if you made a mistake, how could you detect that? For that, what you need to do is you have to go to the connections inspector window, the very last one, connections inspector, and then click on your text field. Click on the text field on the UI part on the screen. Okay, now you see whether it has been connected or not clearly. Sometimes if you have dragged and dropped multiple times, you would get 2 connections. So that means it is wrong and you have to delete that. Okay, did you notice here? Text outlet is connected to the view controller. Let's say if you mistakenly done something and dragged and dropped twice or thrice, you would be able to get 3 or 4 there. So which is a bad. So you would be deleting everything and you would be reconnecting again. Okay, so that's the important part. And can you go ahead and check for other components as well? So now select the label on the view, select the label and check whether the connection has been correct or not, which is display label is connected to view controller. And we have only one, that's perfect. And select the submit and check the connection here, which is nothing but view controller to the button clicked. So this is an action item. That's why we get in a different way, not an outlet. Okay. So we have only one connection. Our connections are good. Our design is done. Connections are done. We double checked everything, right? So now just close your view here. So just close the screen main, and then you would be ended up with writing code here. Okay. So now tell me what would be the functionality that I have to write for. So when user enter the text, what we have to do? We have to read the text, right? Okay, so we have to read the text and check for oval. So these are the 2 things we have to do. Now, if you try to manage writing your logic in the Swift language, your app is done. Okay, so what we will do is how to read the text and from where to read the text. Text from the text field. So text field refers to text outlet, right? So go ahead and get your text outlet dot text. Okay, so this is what you're going to get, and you're going to store this in a variable called enter text. So that means the user, they enter some text, and I'm storing it in a enter text variable. Okay, so the first part is done here. We have read the text from the outlet, which is the text field. Okay, and the next one is we have to check the oval or not. So what statements we will be using? An if statement. Okay, so we will be using an if statement. So what is the syntax for if statement? If enter text dot contains enter text contains an A, or enter text dot contains E, what I want to do? I want to put it in parentheses because I'm writing a big compound condition. I'm going to do this. I'm not writing everything. So basically, I just want to write 2. Maybe if you want to practice that later, you could do that. Okay, so we have an if condition here. We would be able to use it. Enter text dot contains A, E, I, O, U. We could write that, but let's start with 2. And what we have to do, if the enter text contains these values, the text contains oval. And we have to put that in a display label, right? Okay, you would see the what you call it, some errors here. So in the last class, what we did was we make this as optional. So that means we have to use an exclamation here on the next to text. Okay, so if you do that, all of your errors would be removed. So basically, you call it as optional. If you remember when we run the program in the last class, we get an optional something. So that means whatever the text that you're going to enter is required. So just put an exclamation here, you would be removing with all the errors. And now what we are going to do is we are assigning some text to the display label. So now display label dot text is equal to the text, the entered text contains oval. Else what? The entered text does not have when you actually design this, you designed it for iPhone. But here, if you notice, you see iPod on the very top, iPod. So now click on that and select iPhone 11. Click on that and select iPhone 11. Okay. So now basically you're going to open a simulator to test your app on an iPhone 11. So for that, this is a run button or execution button. So click on that. So you would be able to get build succeed. Yes. And then you would be able to see the simulator here on the top or the back. If you're running it for the first time on the iMac, it may take a couple of minutes. Downloads folder, that's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to enter some text that's not having A or E. Okay, so submit, the enter text does not have oval. And now you put like ABC, the enter text contains oval. Okay, so that's up to you, whatever you want to test with. Okay, so with this, we are done with a simple app to test whether the text is having oval or not. Okay, thank you.